So, I would like to present the understanding of mineral balancing and why hair mineral analysis is the best way to be preventative. And although I do not claim myself as mastering this as some of um, the doctors and naturopaths that I have learned from, I find that I can explain this to people on a nice layman's level so that you can understand. Me being a naturopath, my mastery is definitely in neuromuscular work, but my biochemical work is um, very much in a place that I feel comfortable working with people and teaching them, and trying to continually to move forward with the advancement of my own education and learning the significance of biochemistry in people. It is absolutely complex, but in its simplicity, it is really every life process is going to begin with minerals. So we really should be starting this. And Dr. Paul Eck and Dr. David Watts, who were partners at the beginning when this was all started and trying to give this to the medical industry, they were trying to show them how important it was that we create education for the average person so that they understood that nutrition of food was necessary, but when it wasn't necessary, not when it wasn't there, all the things that were missing were going to start to become out of balance. And if the world, which it did, got more stressful, then we were going to start to create major imbalances, which were going to lead to degenerative diseases. And when that didn't go the way that they wanted to, and the medical industry didn't accept it, and they went to the naturopathic industry and nutritional industry, it was a bit more difficult for them to get the mass populations to listen to them because it was privately paid. And so with this said, I want to bring this and keep this alive because I really feel that it is such an important part of our world to understand how everything out there really depends on minerals for their main life force, and everything about an individual or any type of life form is going to be dependent on that mineral intake. And we know that when we see depletion and we see not only problems in the structure of people with their physical body, but then we see mental and emotional problems too. And just go to a place where there is either a toxic metal that has ravaged area with air or water, and see the cancers and all the degenerative diseases. But then also you can go someplace where it has affected them and there's some mental instability as well. So it's very interesting work. I'm going to try to explain this the best I can so that you can understand it a little bit better. And what exactly is hair mineral analysis? So HMA tests the mineral composition of your hair to give you the insight into what may be coming your way in the next few years. And that is absolute. I've been doing this long enough to see people testing, seeing results, seeing these trends that these two doctors set up, and Dr. Larry Wilson as well, and then working with these people for years and seeing the people who actually did the programming from the beginning and the people who didn't, and what the prevention could have done for somebody and what the prevention did do for someone. So it really does have it's like iridology, where you can see the future of somebody by looking into these human physiological attributes. And through clinical lab results, you will see a new way of understanding your body with mineral imbalances, excesses of toxicity, and deficiency. So the lab comes back, and these 3 doctors have created all of these wonderful ways for all of their followers to be able to clinically look at the hair minerals and start to help people find answers and why their minerals are imbalanced, or show them their imbalances. So how does the lab show this? The hair is formed in the dermis from a matrix of cells making up a follicle. During the growth phase, the body's metabolic activity increased, exposing the hair to internal metabolism. This includes extracellular material, blood, and lymph. As the hair reached the surface of the skin, the outer layers hardened and locked in the accumulations it was exposed to internally, giving you a blueprint to your biochemistry. Hair is the second most metabolically active tissue in the body and can be a barometer for what is occurring inside your body during its growth, the hair's growth. The first 1.5 inches of your hair that is taken represents a 3-month average of your body's biochemistry. Hair is used by the EPA to determine toxic metal exposure, and it has been for a long time. I've listened to Dr. Eck talk about cases that were brought forward in the court systems to show that that was true, and they used 1,000 children that had gotten that had been living near a smeltering area, and the toxic metal did not show up in their blood work, but it did show up in their hair analysis. So that basically means that when your hair is developing, before it comes out of your scalp, it's actually taking in all of the material that your blood is moving through and your lymph is moving through, and it's getting a nice blueprint of all that material. So when the lab takes it and they heat it and get that mineral composition, that's showing you what happened in the last 3 months. But what about blood work? So blood and serum do not contain minerals, but may not blood and serum do contain minerals, but may not completely represent the body's mineral storage. Serum levels of minerals may fluctuate with emotional changes. Time of day, the blood is drawn, and foods eaten prior to taking a sample, making this method somewhat impractical. The longer the tourniquet is applied, the higher the magnesium rises as a result of hypoxia. Excess minerals in the body are often undetectable in serum because of the removal from the blood into the tissues. This may lead to minerals not to be excreted through the urine or intestines. So basically, blood is only as good as the time that it is drawn. And from what I have been taught, it's only really good for an 8-hour period of time. The food that you're eating, time of day, and we all know if they tell you to fast, what is that doing to your blood? So these are all things that we need to think about. So with that said, it, in my opinion, is a no-brainer that even though there might be mineral in the blood and the serum, the hair is going to give you a better blueprint of what you need to look at for your own health. So why test and retest? And I'm constantly telling clients, well, let's do a 6-month. 3-month is great, but 6-month is fine. Minerals are more important than vitamins because they cannot be synthesized by living matter. They are spark plugs in the chemistry of life, which the exchanges of energy in the combustion of foods and building of living tissues depend. So that's Dr. Henry Schroeder. So let me read that again. They are the spark plugs in the chemistry of life. If you don't know what a spark plug is, it's basically if you have no spark in a plug, it doesn't get the engine to turn on. Which the exchanges of energy in the combustion of foods and the building of living tissues depends. So if you don't have the proper minerals, it doesn't matter how well you eat, you're not going to get those minerals into the tissues that you need to get them into. Without optimum mineral levels within the body, the other nutrients are not effectively utilized. That's Dr. Emmanuel Cheryskin. Minerals are necessary in the production of hormones, and hormones maintain homeostasis, which is in doubt our life's goal, right? To maintain homeostasis. Another important function of minerals is the importance of enzyme activity. For example, I just talked to somebody yesterday about this that gave me some blood work. Zinc is required for 6 enzymes, and so is copper and iron. Without the proper levels of these enzymes, without the proper levels of these minerals, enzymes cannot be activated. For example, without the proper level of zinc, alkaline phosphatase cannot be activated, which is needed for proper bone growth and liver function. So, if your alkaline phosphatase is low on your blood test, what does that more than likely mean? That you don't have the proper level of zinc. However, cadmium can make zinc look on your hair test like it's in a good position, but you may not have any cadmium showing up on your hair analysis. Now, somebody who knows how to read a hair mineral analysis lab is going to look at that and see, okay, we have very poor eliminating cadmium, we have a very propped up looking zinc, we have a very low iron, we have a very low copper, and something isn't right. So they're going to go and they're going to do some research. They're going to look at your lab. They're probably going to compare it to your last lab to get some deductions going. And that's how you would start to say, that's why your alkaline phosphatase isn't being activated, because of that level. And then everything starts to come into a nice balance from that. It's wonderful. So what can cause these imbalances? Well, Dr. Ashmead stated there are at least 18 barriers to mineral absorption, which means that the minerals we consume do not necessarily wind up in our bodies, which is what I was just saying before. They can be eliminated through the urine. And if you don't have all your body in this really nice biochemistry, then it doesn't matter. And then we also have the imbalances of people taking the wrong supplementation. So let's look at some of these imbalances. Diet, mineral imbalance, and proper eating habits, especially taking in excess refined carbohydrates, alcohol, and that says fad diets, meaning the next fad diet. And by the way, I'm going to add in GLP-1 can all lead to poor mineral nutrition. All right, because with GLP-1, most people aren't eating properly, which is going to lead you to mineral deficiencies, or it's going to start to create a biochemical nightmare where if you are on it, you should be getting regular hair mineral analysis to make sure that you are keeping up with your nutrition. The soil that food is grown in is the key to food nutrition. So what did I just say? Your soil has to be good. If you don't know where your food is coming from, I suggest you start finding out, because just because it looks green in the supermarket does not mean that it has any nutrition to it. There is no way to read nutrition on fruits and vegetables. As a matter of fact, 4 years ago, I listened to somebody talking to a nutritional podcast commentator, and they had built a 3D printed, I want to say gun, because you point it at the vegetable and it reads the nutrition of the fruit of the vegetable. I emailed them and said, please let me know when this is available, because I want a whole bunch of them. I want to, put them out into the world, because this is so important. And guess what? poof, gone. Yeah, of course they're gone, because they would probably go into the average supermarket and you'd start pointing at it and go, I'm not buying any of this stuff. And therefore everybody would be gone. So there would be no more fruits and vegetables being sold. But you have the ability to go into your backyard and grow some things. And hey, there are plenty of farms out there that I am sure would love for you to go there and start a nice little garden, and you take half and you give the farmer half. Maybe he doesn't have a garden, or somebody who may have a cooperative. I know the church down the road from my business has a cooperative, and they'll give you a little patch of dirt, and then you can put seaweeds and all kinds of good stuff in there to get your minerals levels up. There's a wonderful Italian seaweed that is a fantastic natural fertilizer. So lots of great ways of getting that soil food ready. Stress, physical, emotional, mental, environmental, can lead to imbalances. As we discussed in that last video, Hans Selye, the stress theory of disease, nutrient absorption can also decrease when the body is under stress. You do start to build up calcium. As we discussed, that calcium is going to make you much less functional in assimilation of nutrition and absorption. Medications, just like this GLP-1 I was talking about, can deplete the body's minerals and increase toxic metals, any type of medications. And I just ordered about 6 different books from 1949 to 1968. I'm so excited to get them. It was my Christmas gift to myself this year, because I want to see what these foundational doctors had to say prior to the pharmaceutical industry going and prescribing to the tree outside of their doctor's office, and prior to the internet and prior to any type of social media. These doctors were talented physicians, and so I will be bringing that to you as well. Pollution, who knows what is going on out there right now with the skies. Toxic metals, lead, mercury, cadmium, and aluminum can interfere with mineral absorption and increase mineral excretion. Those I'm seeing a ton of aluminum and mercury, but I'm also not seeing cadmium and lead coming out, which we know they need to come out of the body, and they're there. And I'll have a whole toxic metal program that I'm going to do as well. Nutritional supplementation. Okay, calcium absorption is decreased in the presence of phosphorus. Vitamin C is required for iron absorption, but excess amounts of vitamin C can cause a copper deficiency. Vitamin D enhances calcium absorption, but in excess amounts can produce a magnesium deficiency, etc. In other words, if you don't know what you're doing, don't do it. Nutritional supplementation is absolutely biochemically, it needs to be biochemically balanced. So as I discussed in some of these previous videos, the programming and the metabolic programs that I give you are the programs of Dr. Eck, where he designed these from the lab, and he, as your biochemistry changes, those programs changed. And not everybody can have vitamin E or vitamin C or vitamin A, and it's very complex, and I will probably study for the rest of my life trying to understand it like they did, but I will do that because I think it is that important. Conditions associated with mineral imbalances. So this is where Dr. Eck was really trying to hit home with people. Arteriosclerosis, which is the thickening of the arterial wall. Its excessive calcium deposits on the arteries is higher where there is a magnesium deficiency in soils and waters. That's proven. Magnesium is required to maintain the resistance to excessive calcium in soft tissue of the body. It's called the calcium-magnesium ratio. If you get too much calcium into the system, or even too much magnesium, if they start to raise, you're going to start to get sclerosis of the arterial wall. And then what happens from that? Then that wonderful cholesterol that you have in your body as your wonderful energy system starts to collect on that. excessive calcium. And there's a whole calcium club of doctors out there that have really driven home with this. They're in South Africa. Hypercholesterolemia, excessive serum cholesterol and increased incidence of heart disease have been related to a low copper to zinc ratio in the serum of the blood. All right. So has anybody told you this before? That your cholesterol is actually due to the relationship of your copper and the zinc in your body. And right now there is such a problem with copper bioavailability or copper toxicity in people. And I'm not going to give you exactly the name of what I believe it's caused from, but it stops you from getting pregnant. And it's created by a big, huge company that is right here in New Jersey. So there you go, I said it. Hypertension, tissue calcium levels in relation to sodium and magnesium to sodium ratios can show a trend towards high blood pressure. So if you have high tissue levels of calcium and sodium and your calcium levels are low, or your sodium levels are high and your magnesium levels are low, you can tend towards high blood pressure. And so that's why it's important to get that calcium and magnesium level in nice position to sodium. And hyperactivity. A strong relationship has been found between hyperactivity in children with cadmium, lead, and mercury, and also high levels of iron, manganese, and copper. And I was reading an article, a scientific article on the finding of aluminum in the brain and iron as well, because when iron does not get absorbed properly because of the levels of copper in the system aren't allowing the hemoglobin iron to be able to be utilized properly, it can get stored into the brain as well. So aluminum displaces iron. So the coincidence that there was aluminum and iron in the brain is no coincidence. It's quite biochemical. Migraine headaches. Nutrient mineral accumulations such as copper, as well as toxic metals of cadmium, mercury, and lead are associated with migraines, especially copper. One of the reasons why is copper is a female mineral and it loves estrogen and it raises with sodium. And so during periods of the month where you're in a cycle and your coppers start to rise and low, it can create those headaches due to the accumulation in the liver and then the let go of the copper from the liver. All right. And then the last thing I want to talk about is why do you need this and what to expect from it. So hair analysis can be very helpful with undefined syndromes or illnesses. It can pinpoint metabolic disturbances as well as indicate appropriate corrective clinical approaches. And it can evaluate toxic metal exposure and accumulation. So if I did a hair analysis on you, I could help you understand how your carbohydrate assimilation is and your protein assimilation. I can help you look to see if your thyroid is functioning fast, slow, or well. Same thing with your adrenals. Do you have kidney stress? How is your digestion doing? Are you assimilating properly at the stomach level? Is your stomach acid high or low? How is your immune system doing with your zinc and your copper levels? How is your reproductive? Are you trying to get pregnant and you can't? Are your zinc and copper levels in the right position? Calcium and phosphorus for protein synthesis. And then how are your toxic metals looking? Are you accumulating toxic metals? Are you letting them go properly? What are they possibly displacing? What are your symptoms? And why are they important to what your hair analysis looks like? And so that is how you would start to interpret a hair analysis and start to try to regain control over your body again. And in your consultation, you'll receive a highly specific supplementation recommendation and dietary program. Now, your supplementation is something that is created from the hair and mineral analysis for the type of metabolic program that you should be on. And then your dietary program, your diet is basically how you eat. Nutrition is what comes out of the food, and diet is what you actually eat. So I give recommendations to higher fats, higher proteins, more carbohydrates, depending on where somebody is with their biochemistry. I don't give people specific, this is what you're going to eat, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I give you, these are the foods, and you eat when you're hungry, and your body's going to start telling you what it wants. And that's really the way that we should all be living. There is no right or wrong for any one individual. Everybody's so different. After starting the rebalancing program, you may experience symptomatic changes within 10 to 20 days, and this is called healing reactions or retracing. And they're not always lovely. Sometimes you get symptoms that are some joint pains, headaches, hot flashing, and people start to say, well, this is terrible. But at that time, I usually tell people, listen, take a day off the supplement program. The healing and retracing will continue, and then go back on it a day later. If it takes 2 days, it takes 2 days, especially when you're doing toxic metal elimination. And just one more thing, because people ask me this all the time, chelation therapy can be dangerous. And the reason why it can be dangerous is because it extracts toxic metals out of the body too fast. Now, I told you that toxic metals can store into the tissues, into the organs, and some glandularly. If they start coming out of the body too fast, they're just going to go someplace else and get stuck there, because the body can't eliminate them like that. It's trying to balance and create balance through these toxic metals. So you wanted to let them go the same way that it took them up. So if your body took in cadmium because you were really low on zinc, which is like almost everybody, because the zinc in the soil is terrible. So I would pretty much guess that the majority of the people out there have a cadmium, some type of cadmium stuck in their body somewhere. So if I go and give you some type of chelation therapy and that cadmium starts to come out, and you still don't have the proper levels of zinc, it's just going to float around and be utilized again. And now you might get it stuck in an area that's much more difficult to get that cadmium out. So the way that you're just giving small amounts of little bits and pieces of minerals and vitamins is going to let the body displace those toxic metals with little bits and pieces of the parts of the vitamins and minerals that it didn't have, which is why it uptook those to begin with. And then it'll let those go, little bits and pieces at a time. So what does that sound like? It sounds like starting a workout program where you shouldn't go and do 3 hours of workout every day of the week for the first 2 weeks. You should gradually tailor it up over the period of a year. It also sounds like a massage therapy program where the therapist should be kind and build the tissue as they're working with you over the year, so that your tissue gets denser with the pressures and not bruising you and digging in and thinking that that's going to work. So now we can see that too much, too little principle. And there is that beautiful Goldilocks zone in there for everything natural. And a talented naturopath or a talented therapist is going to understand that this is something that you're in for a journey, and you're not going to just try to do a quick fix because it's not going to work. You're going to just end up disappointed again. So with that said, that is my first video on understanding mineral balancing, and I will be bringing you some really cool stuff over the next few, let's say, years. All right, thank you.